Have you ever noticed that the strongest people you know have almost never had an easy life? This bothers us because we've been taught to believe that a good life is a life without suffering. But what if that idea is completely wrong? What if everything you call bad luck, injustice, or a bad phase is precisely the process trying to transform you into someone no one else can control? Most people spend their entire lives asking for problems to disappear. Very few understand that it is precisely when life stops sparing someone that a kind of strength is born that cannot be bought, taught, or inherited. Machiavelli understood this like few others. He observed that politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires abandoning illusions and seeing the world as it really works. After all, the greatest transformations never happen during moments of comfort, but when all certainties begin to crumble. It is at this moment that true virtù and fortuna emerge, decisions based on real human nature and a constant adaptability, qualities that make someone stop being a victim of circumstances and become the protagonist of their own story. Perhaps you have been rejected, betrayed, humiliated, or have seen your plans fail repeatedly. The point is that these experiences may be doing the exact opposite of what you imagine. Instead of destroying you, they may be eliminating the naivete that prevented you from growing. Throughout this video, you will discover why. The end justifies the means. When interpreted through the logic of personal development, does not mean abandoning principles, but abandoning weaknesses. You will understand why it is often best and better to be feared than loved, without ever forgetting to avoid being hated, as well as understanding the true meaning of appearance of virtue, the base calculated use of force, and the importance of building your own loyal armies within your own life. And when this video is over, you may never look at difficulties the same way again. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. There comes a moment in life when every mask falls, and that moment almost never arrives during tranquil days. It appears when the pressure mounts, when plans fail, and when no one seems willing to lend a hand. Because it is precisely then that true character is revealed. While many try to appear strong, few accept being molded by difficulties, and it is exactly this difference that separates ordinary people from those who learn to think like Machiavelli, understanding that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, always requires courage to face the facts as they are. The man who flees from pressure remains dependent on luck, but the one who accepts discomfort develops virtù and fortuna, creating opportunities where others see only obstacles. Think of someone who loses their job. One complains for months, while another uses that period to study sales, negotiation, marketing, or leadership, reading works such as The Prince, Think and Grow Rich, and The 48 Laws of Power, transforming an apparent failure into a competitive advantage. Pressure acts like fire that hardens steel. Without it, the metal remains just an ordinary piece of iron. That's why important decisions need to be made based on real human nature, not fleeting emotions. Often the end justifies the means when the goal is to develop discipline, self-control, and competence, as long as strategic intelligence is never abandoned. The world observes less what someone promises and much more how they react when things start to go wrong. In this scenario, the importance of the appearance of virtue also emerges because maintaining serenity while everyone else panics conveys confidence and leadership. Those who master the calculated use of force understand that force doesn't mean emotional explosion, but silent firmness in the face of adversity. Just as leaders build their own loyal armies before battles, each person needs to build solid habits before major crises, practicing constant adaptability that prevents despair from taking control. And perhaps the greatest lesson is understanding that it doesn't matter if it's better to be feared than loved, as long as one can avoid being hated. Because true transformation begins precisely when pressure stops seeming like punishment and starts hiding something far more powerful. Most people spend their lives trying to escape pain, but those who truly understand human nature realize that it can become one of the greatest sources of power that ever existed. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires abandoning the fantasy of a comfortable life to see that every suffering carries a hidden opportunity. While some transform rejection into a reason to give up, others use that very same experience to develop skills they would never learn living in their comfort zone. It's like an athlete feeling their muscles burn during training. The pain is not the enemy, it's proof that the body is being rebuilt. The same happens in financial life, relationships, and career. Those who lost money can learn accounting, investments, and negotiation. Those who were abandoned can strengthen their self-esteem, study emotional intelligence, and build much higher standards for the future. This is a clear demonstration of virtù and fortuna, because luck usually favors those who transform scars into experience. At certain times, the end justifies the means when the goal is to use suffering as fuel to grow, without wasting energy looking for someone to blame. Strong people stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "How can I use this to my advantage?" This change seems simple, but it completely alters the direction of life. Decisions based on real human nature show that no one evolves solely through comfort. It is discomfort that forces someone to think differently, act differently, and produce different results. At the same time, maintaining an appearance of virtue during difficulties prevents adversaries from seeing your weaknesses, while the calculated use of force ensures that each blow received is converted into discipline, preparation, and experience. Just as leaders invest in their own loyal armies before wars, the wise man strengthens his mind before the next battle arrives, practicing constant adaptability, knowing that it is better to be feared than loved, but always seeking to avoid being hated. Because there is an even harsher lesson awaiting those who begin to see people exactly as they really are. There's a truth few people dare to accept. The world rarely rewards good intentions. It rewards competence, results, and the ability to stand firm when everyone else gives in. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he advocated for a politics guided by reality, not ideals, showing that society observes less what someone says and much more what they manage to accomplish. This is why so many extremely talented people remain invisible, while others, not always more intelligent, gain ground because they have learned to act consistently. Excuses may ease the conscience for a few minutes, but they never change reality. An entrepreneur who blames the economy for every loss will hardly grow. Another, facing the same scenario, seeks new markets, reduces costs, learns sales, masters paid traffic, or develops new skills. This attitude represents virtù and fortuna, because luck usually visits those who are already in motion. In many moments, the end justifies the means when the goal is to abandon unproductive habits to build a more disciplined version of oneself, always respecting ethical principles. Decisions based on true human nature show that respect is born from the ability to solve problems, not from the number of promises made. Therefore, the appearance of virtue must be accompanied by true competence. Appearing strong without being strong only works until the first serious challenge. The true calculated use of force appears when someone chooses to act while everyone else is still looking for justifications to remain still. Just as great leaders build their own loyal armies before expanding their territories, everyone needs to build a reputation based on discipline, reliability, and consistent delivery. This constant adaptability allows one to navigate crises without losing direction, understanding that it is often better to be feared than loved, but always knowing how to avoid being hated, because the greatest challenge will not be overcoming obstacles. It will be discovering the price one pays when one begins to see, without illusions, who is truly on their side. Few experiences transform a man as much as betrayal, because it destroys an illusion that will hardly ever exist again. At first, the pain seems unbearable, but with time, one realizes that it didn't come to weaken, but rather to teach something that no book could explain. Machiavelli observed that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires understanding that people act, most of the time, driven by interests, circumstances, and convenience, not by eternal promises. This doesn't mean living in distrust of everyone, but abandoning the naivete of believing that loyalty is guaranteed simply because someone smiles, praises, or makes grand pronouncements. Just observe how many friendships disappear when the money runs out, how many partners change their behavior when a better opportunity arises, or how many people root for your success until the moment it begins to surpass theirs. Those who understand this stop rebelling and begin to analyze behaviors, because decisions based on real human nature are built on facts, not expectations. It is precisely there that virtu and fortuna appear, transforming disappointment into discernment. Instead of wasting energy trying to convince someone who has already shown disloyalty, a person strengthens their own criteria for better choosing who remains by their side. The appearance of virtue remains important, as responding to betrayal with despair only gives power to the adversary. The true calculated use of force consists of knowing when to withdraw silently, reorganize one's own life, and continue producing results without the need for noisy revenge. In certain situations, the end justifies the means when the goal is to preserve one's own emotional integrity and prevent manipulation from continuing. Just as prudent rulers prioritize their own loyal armies, every man needs to build a small, reliable circle based on true reciprocity. This constant adaptability allows one to understand that often it is better to be feared than loved, as long as one can avoid being hated, because after learning to see people as they truly are, a much more difficult battle arises, preventing one's own emotions from taking control of decisions. There is a huge difference between appearing strong and actually being strong, and this difference becomes apparent the moment someone tries to provoke an emotional reaction. The average person believes that power is about raising one's voice, responding immediately, or winning an argument. Machiavelli, however, understood that politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires first mastering one's own mind before attempting to influence anyone else. After all, whoever controls their emotions controls their choices, and whoever controls their choices ends up controlling their own destiny. Observe how manipulative people act. They rarely use physical force. They prefer to arouse guilt, fear, anger, or anxiety because they know that an emotionally disorganized mind makes predictable decisions. This is why decisions based on real human nature value calmness over impulse. Imagine a work meeting where everyone starts to lose patience in the face of unfair criticism. While some argue and compromise their own image, the one who remains calm, listens, analyzes the facts, responds only as needed, and leaves the room with their reputation strengthened. This is the true calculated use of force, acting only when the action produces an advantage, never merely to alleviate a momentary emotion. The appearance of virtue also plays an important role, as conveying balance makes it difficult, even for adversaries, to predict the next steps. Over time, this posture develops virtù and fortuna, since important opportunities often arise for those who inspire confidence under pressure. In many moments, the end justifies the means when the objective is to protect mental clarity, avoiding useless arguments, distancing oneself from toxic environments, and carefully choosing where to invest energy. Just as intelligent leaders build their own loyal armies before facing major conflicts, the wise man builds habits such as meditation, physical exercise, daily reading, and reflection before facing life's challenges. This constant adaptability leads to the understanding that it may even be better to be feared than loved, but always seeking to avoid being hated, because true authority is born when no one else can use their emotions against you, and it is precisely at this point that most give up, while a few continue advancing until they become practically unbreakable. There is a quality that definitively separates those who only dream from those who truly build an extraordinary life: the ability to persevere when all enthusiasm fades. Almost everyone starts out motivated, full of plans and promises, but few remain steadfast after the 10th defeat, the 100th rejection, or the 1000th obstacle. Machiavelli knew that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, does not reward those with the most talent, but rather those who stay in the game long enough to learn, adapt, and win. Perseverance is not blindly insisting on the same mistake. It requires intelligence to adjust the strategy without abandoning the objective. This is precisely where decisions based on real human nature come in, because those who observe reality understand when to change course without losing direction. Think of an entrepreneur who launches a product and fails in the first campaigns. The impulsive one concludes that the market doesn't work. The persevering one analyzes metrics, improves the offer, tests new ads, talks to customers, and tries again. The same applies to those who wish to learn a profession, master a language, or transform their financial situation. Results almost always arrive long after most people decide to give up. This attitude represents virtù and fortuna, because luck usually finds those who are still working while others have already abandoned the struggle. In certain circumstances, the end justifies the means when the goal is to sacrifice immediate pleasures to achieve freedom in the future. The appearance of virtue strengthens the confidence of those around, but it is the calculated use of force that keeps someone moving forward even when no one is applauding. Just as great leaders invested in their own loyal armies before expanding their domains, the resilient man builds routines, discipline, and habits that sustain his journey through difficult times. This constant adaptability allows one to understand that it may even be better to be feared than loved, as long as one can avoid being hated, because persistence changes more than external results. It transforms the identity of the one who insists, preparing them to see a type of power that few even seek. One of life's greatest traps is believing that the world will always reward those who do right, or immediately punish those who do wrong. This expectation creates frustration, consumes energy, and causes many people to remain stagnant, waiting for reality to sort itself out. Machiavelli completely breaks with this illusion by advocating a politics guided by reality, not ideals, showing that the world functions much more through incentives, interests, and power relations than through an automatic sense of justice. This doesn't mean abandoning principles or acting dishonestly. It means understanding that complaining about injustice produces far fewer results than developing skills capable of changing your position in the game. Decisions based on real human nature teach that those who possess knowledge, resources, influence, and self-control create far more opportunities than those who merely wait for recognition. Imagine two professionals who were wronged at work. One spends months complaining to colleagues, nurturing resentment and hoping someone will recognize their value. The other uses the experience to study negotiation, develop new skills, expand their network, and build alternatives until they no longer depend on that situation. It is precisely this attitude that demonstrates virtù and fortuna, because luck usually favors those who strengthen themselves instead of victimizing themselves. At certain times, the end justifies the means when the goal is to forgo immediate comfort to achieve lasting autonomy and freedom. The appearance of virtue remains important to preserve reputation and credibility, but the true difference lies in the calculated use of force, carefully choosing which battles are worth fighting and which are merely a waste of time. Just as prudent rulers valued their own loyal armies, everyone needs to build assets that no one can easily take away: knowledge, discipline, reputation, health, emotional intelligence, and the ability to generate value. This constant adaptability makes one understand that it may be better to be feared than loved, as long as one can avoid being hated, because, in the end, true victory does not belong to those who receive justice from life. It belongs to those who continued advancing despite never having received it, discovering an advantage that almost no one notices until it is too late. There's a quiet moment in life when a person's greatest advantage ceases to be intelligence, talent, or even money. It becomes something much rarer: the simple fact of still standing when almost everyone else has given up. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not ideals, rewards those who survive long enough to seize the opportunities that inevitably arise. Most abandon their goals just when they are closest to reaping the rewards, because they interpret fatigue as a sign of failure, when in reality it is usually just the price of building. Decisions based on real human nature show that few can endure long periods without recognition, applause, and visible results. That's why those who keep working while no one is watching accumulate an almost invisible advantage. Think of someone who publishes content every day for 2 years without a large audience. Many would say it's a waste of time, but just one video reaching millions of people is enough for all that seemingly wasted effort to reveal its true value. The same is true for those who invest, learn a new language, build a business, or develop a high-value skill. Growth is rarely linear, but almost always rewards those who remain consistent. This combination of discipline and patience represents virtù and fortuna, because luck often smiles on those who are still prepared when the opportunity finally arises. Often, the end justifies the means when the goal is to sacrifice immediate recognition to build something much greater in the long term. The appearance of virtue conveys confidence to others, but it is the calculated use of force that prevents someone from abandoning the journey simply because the results took longer than expected. Just as leaders strengthened their own loyal armies for years before great achievements, the resilient person daily strengthens their mind, habits, and skills through constant adaptability, understanding that it may be better to be feared than loved, but always seeking to avoid being hated, because there is an even higher stage than simply resisting, becoming so solid that no storm can alter your direction anymore. The truly strong man is not the one who lives without problems, but the one who has stopped allowing problems to define who he is. After facing losses, failures, criticism, betrayals, and countless moments of doubt, he realizes that life never promised ease. It only offered opportunities to build a strength that cannot be bought or inherited. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires accepting that chaos is part of existence and that fighting against this truth only wastes energy. Decisions based on real human nature show that there will always be people trying to discourage you, unpredictable circumstances, and periods when everything seems to be going in the opposite direction. The difference is that while most people react emotionally to each difficulty, the prepared man responds strategically, adapting without losing his essence. This is exactly what Virtù and Fortuna represent. Not controlling the wind, but learning to adjust the sails before the storm arrives. When a business faces a crisis, he looks for solutions instead of culprits. When a relationship ends, he transforms pain into maturity. When a plan fails, use the experience to build an even better one. Often, the end justifies the means, when the goal is to abandon old habits, old beliefs, and old versions of oneself to make way for someone much better prepared to face reality. The appearance of virtue conveys serenity, but it is the calculated use of force that prevents hasty decisions in the most difficult moments. Just as great strategists never depended on unstable allies and invested in their own loyal armies, the unwavering man builds a foundation of discipline, knowledge, health, self-control, and constant adaptability, understanding that it may be better to be feared than loved as long as he knows how to avoid being hated, because in the end, the greatest victory is not defeating the world. It is becoming someone whom no circumstance can dominate anymore. If you've made it this far, you've probably already realized that true strength doesn't come from comfort, but from the ability to stand tall when everything seems to conspire against you. Life never promised ease, but it always offered the opportunity to become someone more prepared than yesterday. Every pressure faced, every pain endured, every betrayal overcome, and every obstacle conquered can become a strategic resource for those who choose to see reality without illusions. This is exactly the mentality that Machiavelli defended when he understood politics guided by reality, not by ideals. True advantage belongs to those who develop virtue and fortune, make decisions based on real human nature, practice constant adaptability, and master the calculated use of force. At many points, you will understand why the end justifies the means when the goal is to abandon habits that weaken you in order to build a much more disciplined version of yourself. You will also realize that it can be better to be feared than loved, as long as you know how to avoid being hated, preserving your reputation through the appearance of virtue, and strengthening your own loyal armies, formed by knowledge, discipline, habits, and trustworthy people. Now I want to ask you a question. What was the biggest challenge in your life, and how did it make you stronger? Is there a battle you're still facing that could become your greatest advantage in the future? Write your answer in the comments. I want to know which lesson from this video has most changed your perspective on life. And if this content made you reflect, don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and follow the next videos. Here you will continue learning principles of strategy, power, self-control, and personal development that can completely change the way you see the world. See you in the next video.